called currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is March 28th, 2014. Tonight in the first hour, I'm going to be bringing a guest to the air for you all to hear. Another Canna mom, introduced to me by Sierra Riddle. I had Sierra on last week, talked about her son Landon and her story. Many of you are familiar now with the story. Well, off air, Sierra introduced me to a few of the other Canna moms out there. Great ladies, equally as powerful moms who have an equally powerful love for their children. Just amazing, amazing ladies. Again, all of these moms really set an example for a lot of other parents out there. Their love for their kids knows no boundaries. It's just absolutely amazing. Anyway, we're limited on the time, so I want to get right to my guest tonight. Renee Petro is her name. She's been harassed recently by Department of Children and Families down here in Florida. She's a resident of Florida. She's been harassed, and she doesn't even give her son cannabis. She only gives him hemp oil extract from the hemp oil seed, or from the hemp seed, and it's actually completely legal. It is completely 100% legal, and yet she's still getting her chops busted. And it might have something to do with the fact that she's a cannabis advocate, and she is pushing for medical cannabis down here for people to have access to it, because she, like any good human being, realizes that there's many sick people out there that could benefit from it. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to waste any more time because we have only a little bit of it with her tonight. So let me bring to the air for you all Renee Petro. Renee, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It's great people like yourself that want to help, and Branden the Brave and I and my family really, really appreciate it. So
I know we're limited on time, so I'm going to let you get right to it. I'm going to give you the floor. Pick up wherever you want. Tell the listeners Branden's story, what he's been through with his illness, how you discovered cannabis, and then your journey from there, including the harassment. But you can just start off with, his illness and go from there.
So I have this beautiful, amazing boy who is, a normal child. First 8 years of his life. No illnesses. Hardly ever got sick with a cold. Just fine. And June of 2010, we decided to take a trip overseas. And a month into our stay, Branden developed a fever-like illness. And I think deep in my heart, I knew that something was not right, because he was just the way it all happened just didn't add up. And my instincts were correct, because 5 days into his what was supposed to be a cold fever turned into July 17th of 2010, he had his first epileptic seizure, and we rushed him to the hospital, and the doctors took him from me. He was in status. He, at that point, was seizing for about 15 minutes, and they did the emergency diastat, and that didn't stop, and he kept seizing, and the story goes on and on. You know, is this mystery diagnosis? We never really could find out why Branden was seizing, and he's in the hospital. He's in ICU. He's seizing. He's unconscious. They're just pumping his body with medication, and it just keeps going. We hear viral encephalitis. We hear, well, it could be this, it could be that. All tests are negative, but yet Branden's in a coma. He was in a induced coma for about 3 weeks, and by the grace of God, the seizures let up after a combination of medications that they just so happened to work, and it let up a bit that we can bring him out. But when he did come out of the coma, he was a different person. He was almost like a drug addict. He was hissing at us. He was growling at us, and the doctor said that that's because of all the medication. His body is not used to it. And I remember his dad and I looked at each other like, okay, so our once healthy boy, and now he's in a coma, and now he's coming out of the coma, and he's hissing at us like a snake. And all the doctors could say is, we don't know, but it'll get better. Well, it really never did. It was medication after medication after medication, different anticonvulsants, different diagnosis, Branden getting worse, couldn't go back to school, restricted to the house, brain damage, still no diagnosis, on 4 and 5 different medications at once, liver, it was just like hitting us from everywhere, and Branden's still seizing. And we took him to the Cleveland Clinic. We took him to, different hospitals. We consulted with doctors all over the world, and nobody knew what was wrong with Branden. Finally, I said, enough is enough. We have to figure this out. He just can't stay this way. So we ended up at a hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. We found out that there's this neurologist that pretty much is known to be like Dr. House. So we flew Branden there, and we went through extensive testing. He did every scan, everything you can think of. Tried to wean Branden off of medication, but he went into status. And the doctors would tell me, well, that's because he needs it. But I really believe it's because his body's addicted to it and it's withdrawals. And put him back on the medication. And then finally, the doctor came in and said, your son does not have encephalitis. Your son does not have this. Your son does not have that. Your son has this. And he gave us this case study report, and he said Branden has fires, febrile infection-related epilepsy syndrome, and apparently it's a 1 in a million disorder. And there is no cure for it. There's no nothing for it. It's either you in the acute phase, you come out of it. You come out of it with Branden's current status, which is disabled, can't function on his own, autistic, epileptic. I mean, just everything you can think of, Branden has. Or children come out of it dead. Their brain is fried from all the seizures and all the medication that the doctors pump into the children's body. But by the grace of God, Branden's here. So he says to us, we don't know too much about fires. We do know that it's a very debilitating disease, and more than likely Branden's going to need assistance and special care for the rest of his life. And at that moment, I felt the world just crumbling down. I was hoping that he would tell me, all right, you know what, we're gonna do this. He's gonna be fine. That's it, or how about we just take him off of the medication and he'll be fine. I don't know. I was just this motherly instinct of this is just a bad dream. It's going to go away. Well, it didn't. Branden had to have the vagal nerve stimulator, which is a neural pacemaker, implanted in his chest area, which is supposed to stimulate the vagal nerve in the brain to possibly stop seizures or shorten the length of seizures or do something with seizures. Well, we've done that. It's not working. Branden's on 3 anti-epileptic medications right now. 2 of them are very, very extremely addictive drugs, and 1 is a Schedule 1 narcotic that Branden is going to probably have to stay on for the rest of his life because I can't take him off of it, or else he'll die. He's been on, I would say, about all of the all of the drugs you can think of. We've tried them in different combinations, everything. So there are no other options left. So with the fact that he's on 3 meds and the stimulator, he's still seizing. He's missing out on life, and the FDA keeps approving drugs, and the doctors, okay, so what do you want to try next? We can try this drug, that drug, this drug. I'm like, no. So a year ago, I got this message from a friend of mine, and she said, have you heard of something about BCD or CBD or something about, cannabis treating seizures? And I was like, no. She said, well, you need to look up, Jason, David, and Jaden's journey. So I went online and I Googled, and boom, his story comes up, Jaden's story comes up, and I start reading, and I'm like, wow, okay. So Jaden was on like 24 pills at one time, and his father believes that, cannabis cannabis oil will help Jaden, and this is an oil, so it's not even, Jaden's not smoking, this is just an oil, and he Jaden's weaned off of as many meds as possible over the years, and Jaden's able to walk and talk, and his seizures have significantly dropped, and he's able to be as normal as possible. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I went back home, and I thought, I looked at all of Branden's medications, and I looked at all the side effects, which are horrible. One being suicidal thoughts, wanting to kill himself, which he's wanted to do over and over again. We've been admitted in the hospital for Branden wanting to kill himself, lighting himself up on fire. He wanted to light himself up on fire. He asked us to kill him because he didn't want to live anymore. And a child shouldn't say that to their parents. So we would get admitted in the hospital, and he's drooling on himself, and he's seizing, and the doctors would tell me, oh, the medicine is in toxic range, and this is what's happening. Okay, so they would just continue, upping and lowering, and adding this antipsychotic, and adding this, and trying to give him, Prozac, and I'm like, oh no, that's it. Enough is enough. So I contacted Jason, and he reached out to me, and he's been nothing but an amazing advocate for his child. And I thought, there's got to be something here. So I started, really researching and searching and understanding and learning about the cannabis plant and the cannabinoids, and why it's pretty crucial for Branden to try this. And then I see, children from California to Colorado trying it, and they're doing so much better, and then it starts to get even bigger. Parents are moving from illegal states, and they're going to legal states to help their children. And then I'm thinking, okay, so there's got to be something here. So I just keep searching and searching, and then I figured, okay, so I don't want to move. I don't want to leave Florida. I don't want to uproot my family, because I think that's just unacceptable. And as Americans, being in this beautiful country where we should be able to have access to something that's medicinal, that has medicinal value to it, and we know it does because there's a patent on it. The government knows that it's medicinal, but yet they are making it so difficult for us to have access to it. They're tearing families apart. People have to uproot and leave just to save their loved ones, from young to old, from epilepsy to cancer to PTSD to the whole gamut of diseases. And I thought, you know what? This is that there. I have to do something. So I embarked on a journey of trying to to change minds and be an advocate for my child and for other people. So this coming January, I went up to Tallahassee here in Florida, and I spoke with other parents there. We testified before the Criminal Justice Committee there about, why we need to be able to have access to CBD, cannabis, medicinal cannabis, and the fact that we don't want to be criminals. We don't want to commit a crime to save our children, when really that's the crime right there, is your child dying, and they're letting him because it's all about interest, and it's wrong. So from that point on, I continued from legislators to other parents. We joined forces, Sierra and I and Mariah Barnhart and Giselle, a bunch of parents. We all said, you know what, we're gonna join forces, and we're gonna do United Together, and no one left behind. And we're going to try and change people's minds, because our children have no other options left. Branden has no other option left. He's out of options. So they can't slice his brain and take the areas that are misfiring, because his whole brain's misfiring. That means he's gonna die. They can't add any more implants, okay? And they were not going to do any more meds. So it's the combination he's on, which is 3 medications, and that's it, okay? Recently they wanted me to put him on Respidol for the sort of agitation that he displays, but that's really because of the medication he's on, because it causes agitation, aggressiveness. It causes all these side effects. So they wanted me to put him on Respidol, but yet Respidol could actually kill Branden, could put him into psychosis, and could actually lower his threshold, his seizure threshold, and could make him seize more. So I said, we're not going to do that. And recently, as in this past Tuesday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m., I got a phone call from Branden's nurse. So we have a nurse through a home health agency. And she told me, Renee, there's a lady that called me from CPS, Child Protective Services, and they want to come and they want to talk to you. They want to see us. And at that moment, I was like, okay, this is not good. I was picking up my daughter Rachel from her after school care, and Branden's father, he's deployed. He's active duty military. He's overseas. He's fighting for our country, and he's doing that honorable thing. And lo and behold, we're here, and there's a war against us. There's a war against us here while he's trying to fight that war over there. And I really didn't know what to expect. I thought, okay, I'm going to go home. I told Nurse Jeannie, I said, you're not going to allow anybody in the house until I get home. As soon as I got home, about 2 minutes later, she knocks on the door. She's dressed in sheriff's, she has CPS, sheriff, county, she shows me her badge. She tells me that, she has to come in because there was a anonymous tip put in about me, about about Branden, saying that I am not giving Branden his medication and that I'm treating Branden with cannabis extract, and that the tip was made Tuesday morning, and that she cannot disclose anything more than that, but that there's an investigation. And I looked at her like, okay. She said, we need to talk privately. I said, okay, well, go ahead, because where do you want to talk? She said, no, we have to go in a room privately, just you and I. I said, okay, this sounds like I'm being prosecuted here. You know, like I'm guilty already. So she walks into my house and I feel guilty. All right? And we go into the room. She shuts the door. She says, okay, can you tell me what's your first name? Spell it, please. What's your last name? Spell it, please. How old is Branden? How old is Rachel? Do you have any pets? Yes. Are you Branden's mother? Yes.
Renee, I'm gonna have you pause right there because the break is sneaking up on us. But on the other side, as soon as we come back, I want to get right back into it, and I'll have to actually rewind it about a minute and a half, and pick up just for the listeners that might be tuning in. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. This is just very powerful. If you've noticed, I haven't said a word. I'm just sitting here with my jaw on the desk. Wow. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Just a powerful, powerful story from tonight's guest. Just, wow. Literally, I was sitting here with my microphone muted, and I'm staring at the timer, watching the minutes countdown, listening to Renee talk and tell her story and her son's story, and I'm just, wow. I'm just totally taken aback. I really am. I'm actually at a loss for words. Not many people have the ability to do that, but the truth is a very powerful thing. Anyway, let's get right back to it. So, Renee, you were telling everybody before we got interrupted by the break that after all of this, you've been taking care of your son. You've been doing all this to try to help him, and suddenly, and you've been very, vocal about the Canamom thing and. Yes on 2 and helping people get access to cannabis down here, medical cannabis in Florida. So, that's nothing new. But suddenly, out of nowhere, you get this harassment from Department of Children and Family. So, this investigator, whoever, this government employee, they show up with their official-looking uniform and everything on, their badge and stuff, and they came into your home. And then what happened next as soon as they came in? I'm going to have you rewind it about a minute or two for anybody that might be just tuning in now. What happened?
The investigator said that she needed to interrogate us. She needed to talk to us individually, each alone without anybody, including Branden. And I told her, well, with Branden, you can't do that because he is in a postictal state right now, which means he just had a seizure and he's sleeping. So that's number one. Number two, he's a disabled child and he has rights as a disabled individual, okay? And right now, you being here, you're violating those rights. So I said, I will talk to you. We'll go inside. So we went into the room, and she started out by asking me what my name is, first, last name, my children's first, last name, my dog's first and last name. Am I their mother? Okay. Does anybody smoke inside and outside of the house? No. Does anybody, what did she asked me, she said, does anybody, or no, she said, do you give your son illegal drugs like marijuana? And I said, no, I do not. In fact, I said, let me say, and I'm gonna tell you that I've been very vocal. We've been in the papers, but I'm advocating for the right to legally have Branden try, be on medical cannabis. Try it, but legally, without committing a crime, going and trying to do this with the system, with the laws. But yet, I haven't. All I've done is come out and talk about it as a parent that's so scared for her child's life, but yet I'm getting crucified for it. But I haven't done anything wrong, but I feel like you guys have already just convicted and the keys thrown away. And she said, well, we have to do this because every tip that we get, we have to check it out. I said, okay. She said, even if you are, all we're going to tell you to do is don't do it again, and you should move to a legal state. Really? Or what? I mean, I was like, okay. I said, well, thank you for that. And then she says to me, do you give Branden his medication? I said, absolutely. Of course. If I don't, he's going to seize continuously and die. His brain will just, that's it. With that, and he'll go through withdrawal symptoms that galore. I mean, it's no. So she says to me, does anybody watch you give Branden medication? I said, well, 70% of the time, our nursing service is here, and they're administering medication. So it's not just me, it's the nursing service. And we document everything, and it's signed, and it states, and it's counted, and everything's counted. All the pills are counted. So, yeah, he's getting his medication. In fact, Branden has to get blood draws every month, sometimes 3 to 4 times a month, to check his platelets, to check his liver, to make sure that his liver is not going into liver failure, to make sure that he's not in toxic range from the medication, to make sure that he's in a therapeutic range. That's what they like to call it, a therapeutic range, which it's not therapeutically doing anything for him except hurting him. And she said, well, okay. She said, well, does your daughter see you give Branden medication? I said, she's not out there all the time. If she's out, then she watches me, but there's no need. I'm like, what? I said, this is getting to the point where this is ridiculous. She said, well, if you cooperate with me and you don't make this difficult, then we won't have to drag it out, and it won't get ugly. But if you want to be difficult, then we're going to have to take this a different way. Okay. I said, all right, fine, go ahead, ask away. She said, you know that we're going to have to talk to your daughter. Said, you're going to have to talk to my daughter. I said, okay, well, I'm going to be in the room with her. She said, no, you can't do that. I said, okay. She goes, we could have went to her school and we could have talked to her without you being there, but I decided to come here. I said, I said, so you didn't even call me. You didn't even call my home. You called the nurse's cell phone. So I wasn't even aware that you were coming to my home. And now you want to talk to my daughter who's 9 years old by herself. Yes, that's the way it is. That's legally how it is. So I told Rachel, I said, Rachel, this lady wants to ask you some questions. And she's scared. She doesn't know. She's only 9. She sees her brother going through so much, and now, she doesn't understand. So we closed the door to the room, and the investigator asks Rachel, how old are you? I'm 9. What's your name? Rachel Petro. Do you know what's wrong with your brother? Yes, my brother has epilepsy. Does your mom do everything for him? And she says, yes, my mom does everything for him. Branden gets lots of medicine, and we're trying everything that my mom's trying everything to do, to help Branden. She said, does your mom give Branden illegal drugs? She said, no. Of course she wouldn't do that. That's against the law. That's not right. That's being a criminal, and we don't do that. And that's why my mom's talking to people about trying to help Branden and try to help a lot of people that only want to be better. So she goes to her, she says, so your mom's not giving Branden anything? She said, no, my mom's giving Branden medication, and she's giving him hemp oil. So she said, and what is that? And Rachel said, it's just hemp oil. Now, Rachel really doesn't understand what it means, but she sees, people talking about it. She sees it on the, just she Googles. She's a very, intrigued little girl. And at that moment, I opened the door and I said, this is hemp oil. And I showed her a container. I said, this is hemp oil. This is completely legal. This is sold on our shelves in the grocery stores, sold in Whole Food stores. It's completely a legal supplement. It's a vitamin. And she said, does the doctor know? I said, absolutely. I'm very vocal with my doctors. In fact, we were with his doctor in Memphis a little less than 3 weeks ago. We were talking about medical marijuana and how he was very supportive and believes that the cannabis plant has medicinal benefit and could do miraculous things. I told the doctor that I'm giving Branden a hemp supplement, and he asked me, is it helping? I said, yes, it's helping, but it's not doing everything that I want it to, because it's not all of it, because we know that it all works together, and so it's not all of it. And so she said, can I take a picture of it? I said, sure. She said, so what is this again? I said, it's a hemp supplement. I said, okay. So I can find this in the store. I said, basically you can go online, you can find it in the store. It's completely legal. It's shipped to every state. I mean, it's legal. Like, okay. She says to me, so but you didn't give him any marijuana. I'm like, no, I didn't give him any marijuana. She said, well, would you and your son offer a drug test? I said, excuse me, now you're really insulting us. I said, no, we're not going to do that. That's violating, this is violation right here. Okay, you've already spat on us. You're not going to do that. And she said, well, okay, you don't have to, but we have to at least, make sure that he has his medicine in his body. I said, well, there you go. Here's his lab results. He just had a blood draw a couple of months ago. And he's at therapeutic range. In fact, he's at toxic range. We can't do anything about it, but so he's at toxic range. And she thanked me for being so cooperative. And she said, is there anybody else that you want to tell me about? I said, well, this is his dad's number. His dad's deployed. She said she thanked him for his service, and she said, I'm going to contact his doctors. This is an open investigation. If there's anything else you would like to tell me, please tell me. I'm going to have to take pictures of each and every one of you to show that I was here. I'm like, okay. She took a picture of me, Rachel, Branden, Nurse Jeannie. She said that she had to take a picture of the children's rooms to see how they're living. She also asked Rachel if I was a good mother, if she liked living here in the house, if I was nice to her, if I ever hit her, which is totally irrelevant to why they're even in my home in the first place. And there, I feel like that's an extreme, that's illegal and totally taken out of context, just like wrong. And she took a picture, and I told her that Branden doesn't sleep in his room because, he could have a seizure while he's sleeping, and he could die. So he sleeps next to me. So she took a picture of my room, the bed. She looked at the bathroom. She looked at everything. She said, "Do we harm our dog? Are you cruel to animals?" No. She said, "You don't have any priors. You've never been arrested. You're pretty much okay. So, this is a open investigation." Like, all right. And pretty much, she asked me if Branden goes to therapy. I said, yes, he does. He goes to aquatic therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. I do everything I can to stimulate Branden. And then she said, well, have you been to any, sort of autistic centers, interacted with families? I said, yes, I have. She said, have you been to this specific one? And I said, no. She said, well, would you like us to get in contact with them so you can go? I was like, no, it's okay. I can do that by myself. She's like, okay, so you're saying that you don't want to go? I said, no, I didn't say that. I just said, you're here for this. You're not here to tell me where I need to take my son, And then I was like, look, you need to leave now. I think we're done. And if there's anything else, you just tell me. But now it's time for you to go. I said, I know this is your job, but my job is to tell you to leave. So she left. She said she'll be in touch, either herself or someone else, and she left. At that moment, I shut the door and I went in my room and I just started crying. I was like, what is happening? Oh boy. So basically what I'm trying to do, everything's it's the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, but we're still being targeted. And it's just unacceptable. So at that moment I thought, no. So I called every known news station, all of my news sources. I called them and I said, this is what happened to us. We have been violated. We have been these are false accusations, and you need to come and we're going to do this. We're going to get this on TV. And they did. We got Bay 9 News, all the news stations came. And they interviewed myself, Branden, Rachel, and I said, I'm not going to back down. This only is going to make me fight harder for what I believe in, because obviously, this is something that is so important that people are trying to sort of sabotage it. So that makes me think even more that this is so important that they don't want us to get a hold of it, and they're making it so difficult for us, and it's just it's wrong. That's unjust. That's criminal. And so I said, I'm gonna continue speaking up, and I'm going to continue fighting for what I believe, because I want my son back. I want my family back. I want it back, and I'm going to try everything I can to give my son a normal life. You know, he wants to be he wants to be the popular kid and have a girlfriend and get married, and you know, and I want to be a grandma, and I want to see him graduate and do all of that. And where he's at right now, that's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. I just see him just so dwindling away, and I can't do anything about it. So I'm going to continue fighting. I'm going to continue fighting for him and fighting for our rights for people that need to gain access to a beautiful plant. I said one time, I said this is a plant that has almost like impurities, and it's like a vitamin of health, a vitamin of youth. And I said, you know, what we need to do is we need to regulate it. It should be legal medicinally. You know, we don't want to be. This is not about, you know, smoking pot. This is not about that. This is about saving lives, giving people, children, anything, just giving them the chance to live a normal life without the side effects of these harsh pharmaceutical drugs that don't work. They don't work. All they do is cost money, more money for big pharma, and more money for those, more money and lives lost. And that's not what that's not what it's about. So I said if it's the last breath I take, when I die, I want to know I tried everything to give Branden the best life possible. I want to know this way I die at peace, and I know that I tried everything for him, because I owe that to him. I'm his mother. I'm obligated as a mom. It's my duty to do everything in my utmost power to protect my son and to help him get better. And I won't back down. This is not going to stop me. We have done nothing wrong. All we've done is voiced what we believe in, and this is only going to entice me. I said it's just going to make me. It's going to make the tiger roar, and that's it. I look at Branden's baby pictures. I look at him when he first started walking and, you know, talking, and I think sometimes I wish I could just go back in time, put him back in my tummy. Maybe just do something to get my son back, to give him a better life.
You're already doing it, Renee. You're already doing it right now by what you're doing with trying to educate people to vote. Just in Florida, just vote yes on 2. Look, you vote for the medical marijuana bill. Just by pushing people to look and educate themselves about the benefits of medical cannabis and stuff, you are changing the future. Your love for your child is literally going to change people's minds down here in the southern state of Florida about cannabis. I'm telling you, I can feel it. So you are doing everything that you can do. You're literally moving mountains. You know, you canna moms are literally moving mountains. So don't let this get to you. Don't let it push you down or get you down. I know it kind of seems insurmountable at times, but it's not. You are one of the strongest ladies I've ever met. I have to tell you that. I mean, you just, you know, I got a chance to talk to you off air before we came on air, and you are a genuinely good human being, and you really love your son. I mean, you love your daughter, you love your husband, but the love that you have for your child to save him, and obviously if it was you have the same amount of love for your daughter, they're your offspring, you can see you're literally trying to change laws down here in Florida for the better. I mean, you're literally going up against the beast. You know, so don't get too put down. Don't get too dissuaded by everything. I know it seems really hard, but you, from an outsider's perspective, you're an amazing lady. Your husband should be proud to call you his wife. Your kids should be proud to call you their mother. You are literally, quite literally, changing history for your child. That's epic. That is epic. So don't ever, 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 ever allow yourself to get put in that dark place where you think you're defeated and don't. I know sometimes it could be rough, but you keep that fighting spirit you have, because I mean, you're an inspiration to many people. You really are.
Thank you. I was thinking to myself, I was saying, I never thought I would be in this situation. I never thought we would be where we are today. But we are, and I say you have to fight for what you believe in, and you have to do it and fight with all that you have, because you will get there, and Branden's going to get there. All these one day it'll be available to us, but what makes me a bit sad is that the situation that has been put in front of us now with the sort of legalities of this is like, I need to focus on Branden, right? But now I gotta focus on how I gotta make sure that they don't take my kids away.
Yeah, now it's really, now they're adding more to your plate. Renee, can you hang out for one more segment? So, because I want to talk about the legal aspect and maybe try to get you some help, or at least get it out there, maybe get you some more attention. So if you can hang out for another segment, that'd be awesome. All right, awesome, cool. So stay right there. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. Renee's going to give me another half hour. Please, stay tuned. Powerful stuff. This lady is going to change history to save her son. Epic. Take a note, parents. We'll be right back.
Judith Baker was once a promising science student who dreamed of finding a cure for cancer. This expose is an account of how she strayed from a path of mainstream scholarship to a life of espionage in New Orleans with Lee Harvey Oswald. In her narrative, she offers extensive documentation on how she came to be a cancer expert and what led to her involvement in the development of a biological weapon that Oswald was to smuggle into Cuba to eliminate Fidel Castro. Details on what she knew of Kennedy's impending assassination and her belief that Oswald was a deep cover intelligence agent who was framed for an assassination he was actually trying to prevent are also revealed. Me and Lee by Judith Baker. Special JFK 50th Anniversary Signed Limited Edition. $30 including shipping. Limited number of these available. Order your copy today at federaljack.com/store.
Broadcasting worldwide in complete defiance of the U.S. Patriot Act and the NDAA.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. It is March 28th, 2014. Tonight I am talking to Renee Petro. She's been telling us the story of her son, Branden. He has a rare disorder which causes him to have severe seizures, and cannabis oil, THC, whole plant, medical marijuana, whole plant cannabis, whatever you want to call it, would benefit this child. And unfortunately right now, the laws in the state of Florida where Renee lives and where I reside do not allow for medical cannabis. But the voters have the ability to change that coming up in November, which I'm going to be talking with Renee about, and I want to get into a little bit with her about Yes on 2 and the initiative here in the state of Florida to push for a full plant medical marijuana bill, and getting people awake and aware as to what's going on and what it's about and how it's beneficial to everybody all across the board, and it's not going to make fire and brimstone rise up from the ground beneath our feet as soon as it gets passed, if everybody votes on it. We're going to get into the realities of that, but first I want to pick her brain about the legal aspect of things with her case. In a case like this where you're dealing with CPS and they've now been involved and now a case is opened, whether or not you did anything wrong, you need to make sure you have an attorney. I mean, if you did something wrong, you better get an attorney. But obviously, even if you didn't do something wrong, you definitely want an attorney, because you need someone in this business, in this law society, as it were, to help fight. So, do you have legal representation of any kind to help you with this? Because I know your husband is deployed, and I know you're taking care of the 2 kids and everything right now by yourself, and I'm sure taking this on would be a daunting task, by itself, if you didn't have all this other stuff on your plate. So, do you have legal representation to help you?
Yes, we do. We have that from multi-legal professionals who have called to do anything that they can to help our family in this very trying and difficult time. At the current time, there's still an open investigation. The CPS hasn't harassed anymore. So I believe that obviously there is no evidence of any illegal drug use. And they've called and spoke to Branden's doctors and just people that know us on a day-to-day basis and know what type of family we are and how we would go at any length and do it in a legal manner. So at this present time, yes, we do have legal representation, and we are ready to go if need be. So that's what's happening here. I do have to say, though, that it is still very scary to know that from fraudulent and false allegations and accusations that this type of organization, which is reasonable to say that yes, if there is a tip of neglect or starvation, abuse, but in this case it was giving my child cannabis extract and not administering medication that he needs to get, because if he doesn't get it, if he does not get his meds, he will go into a withdrawal state of psychosis, and he will seize to the point where he'll die. So as much as I would want to do that, I couldn't under a doctor's supervision in the hospital. So I think the legal system will not fail us in that aspect, and DCF will know that there is no evidence of illegal drug using as they're putting it.
Well, yeah, you guys aren't really using cannabis. You're not using anything illegal. You're using hemp seed oil, which
Absolutely.
You could buy legally at like Whole Foods. A lot of people, you can buy hemp seeds and cook with it. So, I mean, you're not doing anything illegal. You're being messed with, and this is ridiculous. And this whole notion of see something, say something that we have in this country now, where everybody's a tattletale, and oh my God, you must be part of a terrorist organization because you're taking care of your sick kid. I mean, this is just the stupidest thing ever. It really is. The harassment you guys are going through is ridiculous. I mean, do they not look at your situation and go, wow, this poor woman must have her hands full already? Her husband's deployed in a danger zone, into a war zone. That's already stressful. She's raising 2 kids. That's stressful. and then one of them is now sick. That's stressful. And now you're going to bust her balls about how she's trying to take care of her kid and keep him healthy and alive? I mean, why add more stress? I mean, this is just utterly ridiculous. And for the supervisor to cause these problems of this nursing company that you guys pay them. It's not like they come and they give you their charitable donations. You're paying these people's salary, and here they are coming into your home and acting like a little tattletale on something that you're not even doing wrong.
You know, what I've come to hear from lots of people and just from researching is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this woman called in a tip of the fact that I'm giving Branden cannabis extract / not administering his medication. Now, that's very contradicting because, 50 hours a week, so that's 10 hours a day. We have a nurse who is sent out by the nursing agency who administers Branden's medication twice a day. So I give Branden his anticonvulsant medication in the morning, and the nurse gives him his medication in the afternoon and in the evening. Now, all of those medications are counted for because one is a highly addictive narcotic. So we have to account for it. And if it's not all there, if it's not counted for, then something must be wrong. And there's the nurse that signs off on it, I sign off on it, and then it goes to their corporate center. So I'm thinking that really this is a way to try and shake a activist advocate for a known medicinal plant, and guess what? It's not happening. In fact, it's only empowering me to want to go 20, 50, 100 miles more. And there is no scare tactic here. We haven't done anything wrong. Yes, we're being looked into. I am perfectly, I'm not stressing about it because I know we did nothing wrong. All I'm merely trying to do is trying to find another way, because we have no other options, to help Branden, because he could die. And I find that not illegal. I find that to be what a mother's job should be, is to do anything and to go at any length possible for her children.
A mother's job is to protect her children, and a mother's job is to do whatever she has to do to keep her child alive. In this instance, you're not going out and you're not mugging people, stabbing people, shooting people. You're not doing anything of the sort. You're not harming anybody else. You are not committing a crime. By the definition of a real crime, is if you violate somebody's physical self or their personal property. You steal from them. You're not doing that in any way, shape, or form. All you're doing is taking care of a sick little boy. And for these people to be harassing you, it's just ridiculous. And again, a lot of this harassment is based off of ignorance because they have no idea about cannabis. And people still buy into the reefer madness insanity, where, oh my God, if people smoke pot, they're going to go out and rape everybody and, burn houses down and rob everyone. It's just ridiculous. I mean, look at Colorado. Did the pits of hell open up and swallow the entire state? No. In fact, they're making a lot of money, and people that are sick are getting healthy. Maybe the rest of this country could take a note.
I think it's just a matter of time before the truth shall set itself free, and the cannabis plant will be in the eyes of the public more and more. Right now, it's held hostage. But the fact of the matter is, myself, I have done nothing wrong. All I've done was advocate and give my child a dietary supplement, which is hemp seed oil. So, can't find anywhere where that says that that's illegal. What should be illegal is fraudulent, and that is people taking it upon themselves to destroy other people's lives, especially in this situation. Branden's life is already in a fragile state, and then add this on, a sheriff coming into our house and asking me to turn his head around because he's in a post-ictal state. That means he just had a seizure and his brain needs to rest, and he's sleeping because he's so tired. And she wants me to turn his head so that her camera can clip a picture to show DCF that she indeed saw Branden. Now, to me, I find that's just absolutely, that's criminal. That's really criminal. So, justice will be served here. I promise you that. I will do everything in my power to protect my children, and when it happens to be the fact that we've been stomped on and mishandled, our supporters will do anything that they can to help us and any others that need help as well.
Since this whole thing is going on, it brings up an interesting topic, which is the legalization of cannabis for medicinal use, at the very least right now. And I think if that were to occur, this would be a non-issue. What are they going to do? Call CPS because you're using a completely legal substance that the voters of the state passed? And you know what I mean? If this were a year from now and Yes on 2 passes, then what? Then what would the nursing company say? Then would you still be a horrible mother? Oh, well, then the law was changed. Oh, so because the voters said it was okay for her to take care of her child with a substance that obviously saves the child? Is anybody using their brains for a minute? It's amazing because I know in a year from now, if it's okay, if it's all legal, then yeah, that would be fine. But now it's not. It just goes to show, yes, I hope Yes on 2 passes. I hope everybody votes Yes on 2. We get medical cannabis here in the state of Florida. What I'm saying is, I just think it's interesting how, you're pushing for this, and I hope we get it. But if it does pass, we'll say, a year from now, what you're getting your chops busted for, you couldn't. I guess they could still try, but technically they would be violating the law because you're allowed to treat your son with that, even though you're not right now currently, but you'd be allowed to in the future if it got passed. So it's interesting how, a year from now, this same nursing supervisor would probably have a different opinion because, well, the law is different. It's ridiculous. Don't look at the fact that the stuff actually could save the kid's life, which is what the goal is supposed to be, right? No, they don't look at that. It's just
right.
It's it's not up to bureaucrats. It's up to people like you. It's up to other activists to get together and get this stuff passed. People like me. Everybody needs to stand up in the state, vote Yes on 2, and push this. And that's how we'll change these stupid laws and keep people like you from being criminalized for doing nothing. No, you're not even using cannabis at the moment.
No. You know what, Popeye? I have to say, I had a phone call today from a lady who is a nurse practitioner in down south, Miami, and apparently she saw one of Branden's if you will, psychotic meltdowns on Facebook, and she called me and she said, I saw how Branden was just, it was so sad. And here you are, he's in the state where he's crying uncontrollably, and, he obviously he needs help, and there you are trying to comfort him. Mind you, I had just given him Diastat, which is rectal. I gave him a rectal Valium, okay, and that did nothing. 15 milligrams, and it did nothing. he kept crying and just in this state of, I want to die. And all I can think of is, when is this going to give? I mean, come on. Nothing is working. And so she tells me, I was just so teary that I went to our neurology, our pediatric neurology team at this hospital. And mind you, I don't even know who this lady is. And she said, I approached them and I showed them this video of a child that has fires, and apparently they're very well informed about fires and how it's a very deadly syndrome. Prognosis is extremely poor. And they said, we want to do anything to help this child. And they had asked for, what type of medication is he on? Has he been through any genetic testing? What types of scans has he been on? And it's funny because they wanted me to reach out to them so that I can bring Branden to them so that they can go through this reevaluation. And I said, I know you're trying to help, but, I don't foresee them being able to do anything because we've been to doctors that are specialists in what Branden has, fires, and there are no other options left. He's not a brain surgery candidate. So that means they cannot resect the area of the brain that's misfiring. And I don't feel comfortable with somebody slicing his brain open and taking out a part of his brain because that's not going to guarantee anything. In fact, it may hurt him even more. And then we're not doing any more drugs, So then she mentioned, well, they're one of the hospitals that have the yes to clinically to do the trial pharmaceutical drug, the cannabis, the high cannabidiol, GW pharmaceutical, and they would like to put Branden in that trial. And I thought, okay. And then she says to me, she says, but they would really like to use to be able to utilize a virgin brain. And I said, okay, well, that's interesting. How are you going to get that? And she says, well, another thing is if he's on Depakote, which he is, and a clonazepam, unfortunately, he won't fit the profile. And I thought, why is that? They said because that medication literally messes the brain's walls up. It breaks down the barriers that they can't. That Branden's not going to be one of those children that they can take. And to be honest with you, I felt like, wow, so yet again, the door is going to shut. These people are basically not going to be able to utilize this to try Branden because of the medicine he's on. So the medicine's really a smack in the back. So I found that to be quite interesting, that apparently you can't even go on these clinical trials if you are on some specific anticonvulsant medications. Have you heard about anything like that?
I'm not surprised that a clinical trial wouldn't work because of drugs. Big Pharma's answer is to take the cannabis plant and genetically manipulate it so that they can make a medication out of it and patent that medication and sell it to people. And it's to make sure that people don't get high or get the wrong type of stuff because too much of the wrong type of pot could kill you, which is a complete lie and all fallacies. But that's because they want to be able to control it. So what they're doing is the stuff that they're building is all synthetic. So yeah, I guess for their tests, they would probably need to have a brain that wasn't exposed to Depakote and all this other stuff because that stuff is mind-altering to a certain degree and can cause damage. So you wouldn't want him on that synthetic crap anyway, to be honest with you.
Well, and I don't, but who is going to hold Pharma liable for what they do to Branden's brain? I really believe that, somebody needs to hold them liable. Because I feel like the damage has been multiplied, quadrupled because of the medication, and that's what's really making me angry. And that's why it's so important to get on the whole plant cannabis and be able to utilize as much of it as possible in a family-like manner. And what I mean by that is not take this one out, use a little bit of less of that one. I mean, that would be something that we, with a doctor's, supervision to sort of manipulate that and see, okay, does he need this a little bit more? Maybe this in the AM, this in the PM, this in the midday, so I don't find anything in that sort being illegal if you're in a legal state, which we're not. So, frankincense oils and these natural oils, the ones that you can buy from stores like, Whole Food, hemp seed oil, that's all we have right now. It's all we have to utilize until Vote Yes on 2 happens.
And that stuff's all well and good, but that's not powerful enough.
No.
A lot of people don't realize that they like with the Charlotte's Web thing. A lot of people think, well, it's just that little bit that'll do it. That's what does it, right? No, you need the whole plant. Your body has natural cannabinoid receptors in it. It's got an endocannabinoid system that boosts the immune system. That's why when babies are breastfeeding off their mother, the breast milk has cannabinoids in it. So, I mean, technically, if the DOJ really wanted to be a bunch of idiots and the DEA wanted to be a bunch of idiots, I guess they could go after mothers who breastfeed for giving their kids cannabis because the kids are getting cannabinoids in the milk. Why is that? Because their immune system is still weak, but the endocannabinoid system gets the cannabinoids from the breast milk and it boosts the child's immune system. That's what helps it grow and become a strong, healthy child. Now, aside from all the vaccines that they give kids and everything else, I mean, the THC itself, the feared THC, I may add, Renee, because, oh my God, that's the stuff that gets everybody high, is the THC, and oh my God, the THC content gets people so high. It's this fascination with everybody getting high needs to stop. I mean, they're so worried about people getting a little bit euphoric that they're not realizing that the THC is the magic ingredient that does the regeneration, causes your body to regenerate cells, causes your body to fight cancer. That's the very thing that they want removed is the thing that is the miracle part of it.
Just so everybody understands, all of the medication that Branden's on right now makes him high. Okay? Makes him high. All of these medications make him high. He's lethargic. He's just in his own world. So when people think that all these pharma drugs don't get you high, they do. Okay? They get you high. And that's what people have to understand. Branden's pupils are so dilated that it's like he's in another world. Like he looks like he's possessed. And what's very sad about all of this with the whole legality issue is because of the medication that Branden's on, it causes a mind-altering effect, that if someone were to see Branden acting the way he acts in the moments that he acts, okay, they could actually call whatever it may be, CPS, whoever it may be, and they could actually take him away because of that and put him into a psychiatric ward because they think that he could be a threat to himself or he could hurt somebody or whatever it may be. And that's what's scary. That is what is my worst nightmare, is Branden not being able to handle himself because of the mind-altering, legal, FDA-approved drugs that he's on, that they could actually take him away and put him into a psychiatric ward under, observation because of the way that, he, what he goes through. And that, to me, is not fair because, he was prescribed these drugs. And we, as parents, trusted our medical, professionals to do what's right and ethical for these children, and we trust them. But you can't trust anybody, all right? You've got to do the research by yourself. You have to be your own doctor, really. And, you know, just because the doctor says, well, that's good, that doesn't mean you say yay. No, you got to research. Knowledge is power. And what we know, which is the most powerful thing right now, is that the U.S. government has a patent, right? And yet they still say that it is of no medicinal benefit. That, sir, to me, that's illegal. Who's going to hold them liable? I mean, that's bullcrap. They know they know it's medicinal, okay, but yet they don't want to legalize it because, hey, if you can grow it in your backyard, right, which would be the best thing. Now, obviously, mind you, I don't know if we would want to grow it in the backyard because God knows what pesticides and what's in our environment that would be so harmful, all right, but let's say hypothetically you can grow it. It would be much better for you to do it, right, than anything else. But, hey, how are they going to make their money off of that, right? Because it's all about the money. They really don't care about people's lives. They could care less the fact that Branden, you know, continuously asks for himself to go to heaven, okay? That's what he asks me to do. He'll say he wants to go up there. He wants to go up there. That I just can't even, I don't get it. Like, he's not even supposed to know that stuff. You know, he's not supposed to know that stuff. But yet, you know, these medical doctors prescribe drugs that aren't even supposed to be given to children. They're not. He's on 2 milligrams of clonazepam. 2 milligrams. And he has reached the level where his body is like, yep, the 2 milligrams, that does nothing for me. That does nothing for me. And what do the doctors want? Increase another gram. Really? You want me to go up to 3 milligrams? Are you crazy? How am I going to be able to eventually wean him off of that? His body is going to go through major withdrawals. We've seen it, Popeye, totally. We've seen it. Branden's, like, would wake up in the middle of the night and he would hit himself because he would think that there were bugs crawling on him, right? I mean, literally, he would wake us up and he would start yelling and screaming, okay? Between his father and I, we would put him in the middle of the bed with us, and he would be like, in the middle of the night. And I'm like, for the love of God, how are we, what are they putting in our children? And the best of all, it's not even helping him. He's still having seizures. That's what's messed up. That to me has to be illegal. That has to be held. Who should be responsible for that? Because the damage that these medications have done to Branden is irreversible. We can't reverse it. So even with getting off of it, getting on cannabis, maybe having, you know, the whatever normal is nowadays, but some of that stuff we're not going to be able to repair because of the 5 years of these harsh drugs that he's been forced into his body. So, it just makes me mad.
You have every right to be angry and mad. Like you said, the drugs that they give him, you know, when people say, well, if you gave him cannabis, wouldn't he get high? You don't think all the other stuff they give him? I mean,
he does.
It just, the amount of drugs that he's on, it's like when, you know, the same thing, Sierra said the same thing to me, that people will ask her about Landon. Well, you know, it's this level of ignorance. Well, doesn't he get high? You know, how does he smoke it? It's like, really? Like, that's not what these kids are doing. This is saving their lives, people. Like, morphine, if you said, like you said, if you said to somebody, hey, my kid just got shot up with morphine by the nurse. Oh, that's normal because, you know, he's sick, he needs it, whatever, you know, that's okay. But if you turn around and said, my kid just got a little rice-sized piece of cannabis oil as his morning, medicine, oh my God, their phone calls to CPS would be going on, SWAT teams would be coming in, and it's all because people would think that you're doing something horrible, when in reality, the cannabis oil is the most natural, harmless thing you could give your child and the most beneficial thing you could give your child. Just this level of ignorance that people have about the plant. And a lot of that has to do with this whole war on drugs, because for 50 years, people have been preached to, you know, oh my God, drugs are bad. run from scary drugs, beware. And because they're not given the proper information about it, people don't know. And a lot of people are needlessly dying and suffering because they don't have access to this. It's criminal. What's going on is absolutely criminal, without a shadow of a doubt. And to make children suffer, to make anyone suffer is ridiculous. To make any human suffer, but I mean, I just read an article about how a little girl out in Utah died. I read this on air the other night. She died because she didn't have access to medical cannabis, and it would have helped her with her condition. And because she didn't have access to it, she died. Why? That didn't need to happen. Your son doesn't need to have seizures. And I'm just gonna throw it out there. You don't have to say this, okay? I'll say it, because I know cannabis has regenerative qualities, meaning if your son started to take it, and I'm not promising anything, but I guarantee you that a lot of the damage that has been done, at least a good portion of it, could be repaired. And he might start to feel like himself again. And, a big part of not feeling like yourself is being on all sorts of narcotics. As a disabled vet, I can tell you, they try to ram narcotics down your throat. And when you're on a cocktail of that stuff, that poor kid, I mean, my heart breaks for him. It really does. No wonder he's not, not acting like himself. I mean, I'm sure the seizures have done, damage, but that stuff can be, some of the damage can be repaired. But he has to have access to full-on cannabis with THC, because THC is the magic ingredient. That's why we have cannabinoid receptors in our body, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't, a bunch of pot-smoking hippies. This lady has a child that she could save, if and his life would be vastly improved upon what it is now, and he wouldn't need all these narcotics, nor all these other drugs he's on. It's just ridiculous. It really is. And there's more than enough stories of children getting sick. There's more than enough evidence out there of these kids recovering from diseases or illnesses because of cannabis and cannabis oil. And of course, no, the kid's not smoking it. I mean, yes, some people do smoke it for medicinal purposes, but not children, obviously. You just give them cannabis oil, which is actually the most effective way to do it, especially if it's high potent. You just put it on your gum line, little rice-sized drop twice a day. I mean, that's literally how you can fight cancer. People are beating cancer like this. Why would you not give your body what it needs to fight off the disease that you're fighting? Why would you willingly put chemo in your body? Look, all I'll say is this. My mother put chemo in her body, and it killed her. She was 55 years old, and she went from being, a regular 55-year-old woman who didn't look like she was 55. She looked much younger, to when I saw her again, and she used to have long, long hair like Crystal Gale. A lot of the older generation remember a singer named Crystal Gale with long, long hair. That's what my mother had. Long, poker straight, black hair. Beautiful hair. Next time I saw her, she had no hair. It was about maybe a quarter of an inch off the top of her head. She had to shave it because it was falling out because of all the chemo. And she looked horrible. She was 55 and she looked like she was 90 because of all the chemo that they had done to her. It was ridiculous. And they charged her $6,000 a shot. And that was with insurance. Can you imagine if she didn't have it? You could cure cancer for about $2,000 with cannabis. Because it costs about $2,000 to get enough cannabis to make RSO, the high potency Rick Simpson oil. $2,000 for a total cure versus $6,000 per shot, which really isn't going to cure you. It's just going to, drag it out until they can make enough money off of you. I just get really, maybe it's a personal issue with me, but this is what got me into looking into the alternative medicines. And then when I see kids suffering needlessly and other people suffering needlessly, it's just ridiculous. And I'm really stoked that you guys are pushing people to learn about what's going on in Florida with the medical cannabis legislation. The possibility that people down here can actually vote medical cannabis in. But you don't see, what I don't see? I don't see any information getting out there, Renee. I don't see anybody talking about this down here. I mean, you live in the state. You and I live in the same state, so you see the same thing I do. Outside of certain circles, you really don't see anybody talking about it. I don't see commercials for it on TV notifying people.
Right. No, but you do see a lot of commercials about all these brand new, FDA approved drugs, but no commercials about this, and that's why we have to advocate, and then we have to learn and become knowledgeable about what's out there. one thing I do want to stress is that there's a stigma with cannabis, but it's nothing. It's nothing to be scared of at all. I'm just quite. Sometimes I feel like this is just this big dark cloud, and we're gonna wake up and it's gone, and Branden's okay, and this will be all over. But the fact of the matter is it's not, and we need more people to speak up, talk about it. We need to be able to we need to be able to have access to something that could help our loved ones, and hopefully one day, very soon, come this November, everyone will vote yes on 2, and then we could get the proper care that we deserve, that the sick deserve, that Branden deserves, that cancer patients deserve, that refugees that have to flee our state to go to Colorado deserve, so they can come back home, so that we don't have to move. It kind of feels like we live in the dark ages, It should be more. It should be we should be more up to date. We should want to explore and learn new ways. And I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen. I think we just have to keep fighting and speaking up.
Yeah, as long as everybody gets together, then we can actually push through this.
Absolutely.
And I think we could actually get it passed, because there's a large portion of Floridians that are just ready to pass it. I mean, they did a poll down here last year, and if I remember correctly, it was either at 50% or just a little bit over 50% of people or it was right around that mark, that area there, that people were like, yeah, this is just ridiculous. And I mean, all the older folk out there, the baby boomer generations, I don't think, if you don't realize it, your friends are starting to use cannabis. In fact, the baby boomer generation is the largest age group of incoming new cannabis users, because they're all getting older and they all realize, all these drugs that the doctors give me, they make me feel like crap. I can't hang out with my grandkids. I'm all drugged up. Let me see if these stories that I'm seeing on the internet are true. So they go and they try it, and all of a sudden their life is drastically changed. And look, I'm telling you right now, if it passes in November, which I have faith, as long as people know the realities, I have faith that it will go through. And let's say we get medical cannabis down here. That means that within a few months, literally, I mean, I'm sure within a short time after that, once they get everything, they get their process going, within a few months of this passing and the ball starts rolling, your son wouldn't have to take all these harmful narcotics and everything else. And, I mean, it would make his life much better. Who knows? I mean, it could change everything. Every time they always say, oh, there's no cure for anything, somehow cannabis always seems to come in and fix things. I'm not promising anything, but our bodies have an endocannabinoid system. Okay? The endocannabinoid system boosts the immune system. Anybody that wants can look this up. They'll see this. Okay? They can look into this. The endocannabinoid system boosts your immune system. That's what it's there for. Did you know that there's cannabinoids in mother's breast milk? True. There is. You know why? Because the cannabinoid system boosts the child's growing immune system, keeps them healthy, helps them grow strong. That's why breastfed kids usually get sick less than formula-fed kids. And a lot of people can argue with me and say, no, that's not true, whatever. Look, I've looked into it, and I've seen enough evidence to say that, look, and of course the mother has to be healthy too. I'm not saying that the mother's eating horribly and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously that's a factor. But kids react better when they when they get things el natural from the mother's body. Just like it's good for a kid to be exposed right after birth, like home birth. People say, why do I agree with home birth? Because being exposed to the germs and everything in the natural home environment where the child is going to be residing helps boost their immune system and helps make it stronger down the road, because they're going to be exposed to that anyway. This is a lot of stuff that obviously modern regular parenting or books or stuff, you have to look into the alternative aspect of things. But the point is, these children, like your son, that they're suffering needlessly. I mean, half of his suffering probably comes from the medications he's on. And I speak from experience because being, like I said, a vet myself, and I've had loved ones that were prescribed medications and stuff, over the years. And when they stopped taking all these horrific medications, I mean, Renee, their lives changed. So imagine how many Floridians the lives will be changed for the better. I mean, it's not going to be chaos and mayhem down here in Florida. Renee's a mom. She's not, some Colombian cartel leader. She's not some partier. She's not some hippie. She's a mom. And she's saying, look, this stuff does have medicinal value, and it could change people's lives, not just her own son, okay, but it could change everybody else's life down here too that is ill. I mean, you could take it even if you're not sick as a natural supplement, like almost like preventative medicine, and it's like doing your monthly oil change on your car almost, and that kind of maintenance to your own body with it. Look, it's not about people getting high and running around and hallucinating and being hippie. Stop. That stuff's propaganda, and it's just not true. And if you're one of these tax people, I mean, Renee, think about the economic value. You know how Florida's always complaining that they don't have enough money for this program or that program. Well, what about all the tax money? I mean, I don't agree with taxing the hell out of it, but I mean, that's what they're going to do. So you're going to have tax revenue. The only thing I foresee with this bill being a slippery slope, and this was brought up to me by someone that has, they've actually read it, and they've worked to help, push. They've worked with United for Care a little bit. They said to me one of the only things they don't like about it is that it does kind of open the door for that DUI testing of for cannabis, and that kind of thing is a slippery slope, because who sets the amount that you can have in your bloodstream, because again there really isn't an umbrella policy, one size fits all for anybody. Everybody's body chemistry is different. Right. So the amount of THC that maybe let's say your son and there's two other boys that are sick, right? We'll say through the three of them, and then each of them THC would help them and I don't want to say the word cure, but we'll say benefit them, greatly. And right. All three of them, their body chemistry is different. So all three of them, the amount is going to be different. So you can't just say, they can't to set a limit and say, oh, well, point whatever. They say like 0.08 whatever, right? Well, how can you say that? Because maybe your son needs 3 times that amount just to be able to be, functioning normally and have his body operating properly. And then he's good. He's fine. He's not high or running around, causing chaos and mayhem or anything. And maybe the other boys need half, or one of them only needs half. And maybe the third one needs 3 times the amount that the other two need. Everybody's body is different. So that's the only slippery slope problem I see so far. But overall, if we can get this passed down here in Florida, I mean, this would be a huge step, especially down here in the South. You know what I'm talking about.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. One thing that comes to mind is that there's an article that will come out in the Tampa Tribune, and I want to stress something here, that Branden, and this is very, very important that I make this known, Branden has not tried anything illegal, okay? That's number one. Number two, when the CPS comes in here and says, well, would you offer, and I want to stress this, would you offer up a drug test for you and your son? And I said, my initial was absolutely not, because it's like, okay, so you're coming in here, you're accusing us, and now you want us to offer up a drug test. Really? You know? So I said, absolutely not. She said, well, it's not like we could do that now anyway because your son's sleeping, and, you know, there's no reason to do it anyway. I'm like, absolutely, yes, there's no reason to do it. We're not criminals here. So this is one thing is, if we don't stop what's happening, this is going to continue happening to other families, okay? And age doesn't matter, all right? It's going to continue happening, and disease doesn't matter either. It'll continue happening if we don't speak up. This is about. It's not about. It's not about being an activist. It's about being. I like this. Someone, I think Mariah uses the word realist. It's about being a realist. It's about being, okay, this is reality of life. Okay? It's about the fact that this is real. Okay, my son is suffering. What he's on right now, what he's utilizing right now, is not working. In fact, it's only hurting him. And trying to access this in a legal manner, and then being bullied, because I feel like this is a bully attempt, all right, a way to shake us down, which it didn't, because someone that becomes shaken down in my eyes is, I believe, someone that feels like they can't go up to it because they've done something wrong, but we haven't here. This is about our rights as human beings to be able to advocate for something that we believe in, but most of all, something that I know that like you said, that has healing, that could regenerate and possibly do some amazing things to Branden's brain, so that he could be able to come off of pharma successfully under medical supervision, okay, with the doctor's help, not me playing, doctor, because that's not what I am, okay, but under medical supervision where he's not, falling over himself or drooling over himself or acting in a aggressive manner or wanting to hurt himself or rashes or hospital stays that we don't need to have, okay?
Well, it's just ridiculous. You don't have to go through that. I mean, it'd be one thing if there was no hope and that was the only avenue, but when you know there's an avenue and it's just stupid, it's literally stupid bureaucracy that is created. It's like a roadblock of bureaucracy that's based off of ignorance and fear, and of course there's other aspects to it. But we have about a minute left. Renee, throw out any websites, any Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anything that you have that people can go to and support you guys and get your story out and spread the word.
There's a Branden The Brave page on Facebook. So if you look up Branden, BRANDEN, The Brave, that's where I blog every day about Branden's life, about what he goes through, about the good, the bad, the positive, the hoping, the belief that if we fight, we'll be able to be better. If there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way. There's always a way to to make things better. You just have to fight. And then there's a fires. You can go learn about Brandon's disorder at www.fireschildren.org. FIRES children.org.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on, Renee. I will say goodbye to you off air. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. Thank you for tuning in. Catch us again next week, Tuesday. Till then, I love you all. I'm out of here.